Hey, weirdos and wanderers. Welcome to Night Whispers. Tonight, we're going to the lake. We're going to the woods. We're going to the hill above my house. None of these stories are about monsters jumping out at you. They're about the quiet things. The things you almost explain away. The things that make you pause and think, wait, what was that? So get comfortable. Grab your favorite blanket. Turn the lights down if you dare. Let's begin. The hill that watches back. There's a hill above our house. It's not dramatic. No twisted trees. No leaning crosses. Just Georgia clay and grass that never quite grows right. If you didn't know better, you'd think it was just yard. But that's where they are. Over 20 years of pets. Max was first. Gray cat, full tail, big personality. He ran the house like a tiny landlord, collecting emotional rent from everyone. He slept where he wanted. He judged openly. And when we buried him, we placed a smooth, flat stone over his grave. It felt right, solid, steady, like him. Then Ruff, the Springer Spaniel. Loyal doesn't even begin to describe him. Can you say a little boy and his dog? He followed us room to room. If you stood up, he stood up. If you sat down, he settled at your feet. His rock is heavier. It had to be. Queenie came next. Beautiful Persian, shy. Thank you for the heart me. I appreciate that. Shy, the kind of cat who would watch from across the room before deciding you were safe enough to approach. We picked a pale stone for her, softer in color. Thelma, our Labrador, rests silently uphill. She always liked being able to see everything. Even now, her rock sits just high enough that it feels like she's still keeping watch. Jasper, the ginger cat, has a slightly crooked stone. I've never fixed it. He wouldn't have wanted it straight anyway. And Fido, my daughter's cat, she's up there too. That one carries a little more silence with it. No plaques, no engraved names. Just rocks, just memory. Most days, the hill is quiet. But sometimes, at night, when the house is still and the air feels heavy in that peaceful way, it does before sleep fully takes over. You know what I'm talking about. I feel it. I shift at the edge of the bed. The mattress dips slightly. Now Virgil, our current Manx, no tail, full attitude, is usually asleep somewhere else when it happens. But the weight feels familiar. Max had this habit. He would jump up, circle 3 times, and then, without fail, step right on my hip before curling into a warm, stubborn loaf. Every once in a while, I feel that exact spot pressed down. There's no fear in it, no cold air, no dread, just presence. And sometimes I lie there and think, if love leaves energy behind, maybe it doesn't leave all at once. Maybe that hill isn't just where we buried them. Maybe it's where the doorway is. And maybe every now and then someone checks in. Not to haunt, just to say, still here. It's my pet cemetery story. What'd you think? Pretty cool, right?
I liked it.
Hey, man, sound man, how are you? And thank you for coming in.
Is that a true story?
Yeah, I had to rewrite that one a couple of times because it made me cry. So yeah, but that was one I hadn't read yet. So my AI did a good job. The Dragon of the Lake. It started as a perfect lake day. Pontoon boat loaded down with coolers, fishing rods, half-burnt hot dog buns, and more dogs than was probably legal. We were tubing, we were swimming, we were fishing. Someone was attempting to grill on a boat, which already tells you we make questionable decisions. Bodies were in and out of the water like it was their job, splashing, shaking, living his best aquatic life. And that morning, the lake had been loud. Bass tournament loud. Engines roaring at dawn. Wakes slicing across the water. Dozens of boats ripping across the surface like they owned it. By late afternoon, though, the noise died. The tournament boats cleared out and wind dropped. The lake flattened into glass. We were drifting near one of the deeper coves, the kind where the water goes deep fast. The kind where you can't see bottom, even if you try. That's when Bodhi stopped playing. He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He just stood at the edge of the pontoon and stared straight down. The water beneath us shifted, not splashing, rolling, like something enormous turned over beneath the boat. Fishing lines went slack. The dogs went quiet. You knew that weird silence animals get when they all sense something at once. That. We leaned over the rail. At first, I thought it was a massive fish. Maybe a huge catfish. Maybe a gar. But the shadow was wrong. It was too big. Too smooth. And it moved against the current. Slow. Deliberate. Then the surface bulged. The water didn't explode. It parted, like something rising knew exactly how to move through it. A dark shape broke through first. Not a fin, not quite. A ridge. Then another. And then the head. It didn't look like a cartoon dragon. It looked ancient. Scaled, dark, water streaming off its jaw. Eyes reflecting the low sun like polished amber. No one spoke. The air felt heavy, thick, charged. Its neck rose higher, higher than a person standing on the dock, higher than made any logical sense. And then it unfolded. Wings, massive, membraned, wet and powerful. They unfurled with a sound like canvas snapping in the wind. The lake erupted then. Water crashed against the pontoons. The boat rocked hard enough that someone grabbed the grill to keep it from sliding. Bodie barked once, just once, then tucked himself against our legs. The creature beat its wings once, twice. Each motion pushed waves out in circles that rolled across the cove. Then it lifted, not clumsy, not flailing, graceful. It rose straight up from the water, trailing sheets of lake behind it, droplets catching the sunset like sparks. The shadow passed over us, cold, huge, silent except for the steady, thunderous rhythm of its wings. We could see the length of it now, the tail cutting through the air, the ridged spine, the curve of its body as it banked toward open water. It didn't roar. It didn't attack. It simply climbed higher, turned once over the lake like it was reclaiming territory, and then flew toward the far tree line, gone behind the ridge. The water slowly settled. The dogs whined. Someone finally whispered, "Did you see that?" Weeks before, we'd heard someone claim they saw a dragon in the lake. Everyone laughed. Old flooded towns beneath the water, old wells, old foundations, old stories. Maybe something lived down in one of those submerged caverns. Maybe all those bass boats that morning stirred up more than mud. We didn't pack up in a frenzy. We didn't scream. We just left quietly, because whatever lives in that lake, it doesn't belong to us. We're just visitors. I'm never going out on a pontoon boat again. Just not doing it. We used to have a pontoon boat. Hey, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I'm just looking to see what I've missed. Appreciate it. Thank you for the shares. Hey guys, welcome in, welcome in. Hey, hey, hey. Thank you for the repost. Ooh, you became gifter number 1. Ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh. The town beneath the water. When they built the dam and flooded the valley to create what we now call Clarks Hill Lake, they didn't just flood land, they flooded lives. Entire communities were told to pack up, houses dismantled, churches relocated, graves moved, some of them, not all. And then the water came. Yes, America, yes. Most days, the lake is just a lake. Blue, wide, sparkling, families tubing and grilling and arguing about sunscreen. You don't think about what's under when you're floating. You don't think about kitchens or bedrooms or front porches until the water drops. One summer, during a bad drought, the lake receded lower than we'd seen it in years. Shoreline stretched farther out, mud cracked in long, dry seams. And that's when the chimney appeared. Brick, solid, rising out of the lake like it refused to drown. We idled closer. It wasn't debris. It wasn't random stone. It was unmistakable. Someone's fireplace. I remember standing on the pontoon, staring at it, trying to imagine where the couch would have been, where the door might have opened, where a table once sat. You start doing that without meaning to, mapping a life onto open water. Later, that same evening, when the sun was sliding down and the lake had gone quiet, we drifted toward one of the deeper sections near that old foundation area. The water there is darker, not murky, just deep. The kind of deep that absorbs light instead of reflecting it. Our sonar flickered. At first, it looked like interference. Then shapes began to appear. Rectangles, right angles, lines that didn't belong in nature. We all leaned over the side. You know how water sometimes acts like glass when it's calm, when it turns reflective and you can almost see through it if the light hits it just right. For just a moment, the angle was perfect, and I saw it. A frame, upright, still standing. It had to be part of a window, because I could see the outline clearly. Vertical posts, crossbar, and inside that frame, there was a shape. Not fish, fish dart. This was still vertical, like someone standing at the window of their own home, watching the world that replaced it. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't say anything at first because I didn't want to sound ridiculous. Then the surface shifted. A ripple crossed the water. The light broke. The shape disappeared. The sonar blinked again. Just depth. Nothing more. Maybe it was distortion. Maybe it was shadow from the boat. Maybe it was my imagination filling in blanks where history already sits heavy. But here's the thing. Ever since that night, when we drift over that part of the lake, I don't feel like we're just boating. I feel like we're trespassing because somewhere beneath that water is someone's kitchen floor, someone's staircase, someone's bedroom wall where they once marked their child's height in pencil. And if water holds memory the way people say it does, then what else does it hold? Sometimes when the lake goes completely still, I imagine what it would look like if the water vanished overnight. Chimneys rising, foundations exposed, window frames still standing, and maybe, just maybe, a figure standing forward from the doorway of a house that never really stopped being there, waiting for the water to go down. Again, I will never go boating. Again, never, ever. I'm going to tell my husband this story because he goes boating all the time. He does. He fishes. He's a fisherman. I'm not going back out there again. I used to go out there with him. No, he goes fishing with his dad. I don't do fish. They can have all the fish they want. Let's see. Well, thank you for posting the stickers. I need to make some more. I do. I need to make some more. But thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't forget your points. Because you get points for sending those.
Yeah, I got them.
My alien dudes. I love them. Oh, where's my pen? I have to put that down. I have to write that down. I can't forget that one. Hang on. Okay. The well that breathes. There's a trail near the lake most people don't take. It isn't marked clearly. The main path curves right toward the water and the picnic tables and the familiar spots. This one bends left, narrower, less maintained, the kind of path that looks like it used to matter more than it does now. We were walking it one late afternoon, not quite evening. The light was still good, but it had started to soften, that golden hour where shadows stretch longer than you expect. The woods were calm, not silent, just normal. Birds settling, leaves brushing against each other. The distant sound of water somewhere far off. Then I heard it. Water. Closer than it should have been. Not lake water. Not waves. Not wind across the surface. This was contained, trickling, echoing, like it was bouncing off stone. I stopped walking. Do you hear that? The others paused. At first they didn't. Then one of the dogs tilted its head. There it was again. Soft, rhythmic. But here's the thing. There's no creek on that map. No marked stream anywhere near that trail. And this didn't move like running water. It didn't flow. It breathed. In, out. Faint, but steady. The dogs didn't like it. They weren't barking. They weren't playful. Their posture changed, tails lowered slightly, ears forward, alert. We stepped off the path, just a few feet at first. The sound got clearer, not louder, just clearer, as if it was coming from somewhere below ground. The brush thickened as we pushed through it, vines catching at our ankles, leaves brushing against our arms. And then we saw it. Stone, round, old, a well. The stones were darkened with moss and age, some of them uneven, like they'd been placed by hand long before any machinery helped. Across the top were boards, weathered, gray, laid loosely across the opening, not sealed tight, just enough to say, "Don't look." The dog stopped about 6 feet away, wouldn't go closer. One of them let out a low, steady growl I'd never heard before. Not aggressive, worried. The breathing sound was unmistakable now. Inhale, out, exhale. Slow, measured, like someone asleep at the bottom of something very deep. I told myself it was air pressure. Wind traveling down the shaft. Temperature differences. Rational explanations lined up neatly in my head. But the woods felt wrong. No birds now. No insects. No background noise at all. Just that slow, steady breath from below. I stepped closer. One step. The boards creaked slightly under my hand when I touched them. The breathing stopped instantly. Not faded, not slowed, stopped. The silence that followed was heavier than the sound had been. It pressed in around us. You ever notice how silence in the woods can feel thick, like it was weight? That's what it felt like. We stood there, not speaking, waiting. Then, from beneath the boards, a knock. Slow, solid, not random, not falling debris. 3 seconds passed. Another knock. Same spacing, same force. And then a third, measured, intentional. 3 knocks from below. Every instinct in my body said leave. We didn't want to see if there'd be a fourth. We didn't lift the boards. We didn't call out. We backed away slowly at first, then faster once we hit the trail again. The dogs didn't stop moving until we were well past where we'd heard the water. I've walked that trail since, in broad daylight, in groups. I've searched for that well again. And here's the part that unsettles me most. I've never found it. The brush is there. The curve in the trail is there. But the clearing, the stone ring, gone. No disturbed earth, no sign of old construction. Hey, Sydney. No sign of old construction. Nothing. Sometimes when I think about it, I tell myself, we just got turned around. Maybe it wasn't as far off the path as I remember. Maybe it was farther. Maybe it collapsed. Maybe. But every once in a while, when the air pressure shifts just right and the house is quiet, I hear it again. That faint, steady sound. Inhale, exhale, like something deep underground is still waiting. And sometimes I wonder what would have happened if there had been a fourth knock. My TV shut off in the middle of that. It freaked me out. So it did. I don't know if you caught that, but I caught my breath. I gotta turn it back on. I don't like the dark. That was that freaked me out. Hey, Sydney. It was right about the time when it was somewhere around the time Sydney came in. Okay, there we go. Let's see. I have to have something on. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I think I caught my breath. I think it did. Okay. The man on the far shore. It was one of those evenings when the lake turns into glass. No wind, no chop, no wake rolling in from other boats. Just smooth, reflective water stretching out in every direction. The calm, the kind of calm that feels peaceful at first and then starts to feel a little too still. We weren't doing anything dramatic that evening. No tubing, no fishing lines out, just drifting. The motor was off. The sun was sliding down behind the trees, turning everything copper and gold. You know that time of day when sound carries farther across water, when you can hear someone's voice from the opposite shore if they laugh long enough. That kind of evening. I was leaning against the railing when I saw him across the lake on the far shoreline, just standing there. At first, I didn't think anything of it. People hike out there sometimes. Fishermen walk the bank. But something about him felt placed. He wasn't casting a line, wasn't walking, wasn't looking down at a phone. He was just standing, facing the water, facing us. The sun was behind him, so he was nothing but a silhouette, tall, still, arms resting at his sides. Do you see that? I asked. Vic squinted towards the trees. Yeah, weird. We drifted a little longer. I looked away for maybe 30 seconds. Then I looked back. He was closer. Not dramatically, but closer. Still across the water. Still on the shoreline. Still facing us. There hadn't been a boat. No splash. No sound. Just distance shortened. I told myself it was perspective. Boats drift. Light shifts. Angles change. Rational, normal explanations. But the lake was glass. You could see every ripple, and there hadn't been one. The dogs noticed him next. Not barking, just staring. Bodie's tense. One low, uncertain whine. The sun dropped lower. The sky deepened from gold to violet. And the figure didn't move, didn't wave, didn't turn, didn't adjust his stance even slightly. You know how people naturally shift weight from one leg to the other? He didn't. We started the motor, just a small adjustment to reposition the boat. The sound echoed across the water. He didn't react, didn't flinch, didn't step back. He just watched. We turned slightly toward shore to head back in. I glanced over one more time. He was closer again, not in the trees now, closer to the water line, close enough that he stepped forward. He'd be in the lake. Still no boat, still no splash, still no movement. The light was fading fast now. That moment between day and light, where depth perception starts to play tricks on you. We didn't say much after that. We just headed back. And right before we reached our dock, I turned one last time. The shoreline was empty. Not walking away, not disappearing into trees. Empty. Completely. The next weekend, curiosity got the better of us. We hiked around to that side of the lake. I wanted to see the exact spot where he'd been standing. It took longer than I expected to reach it. The shoreline isn't easy access. Thick brush, uneven ground, no clear path. When we finally stepped out of the tree line and looked across the water toward where we'd been floating, I realized something. There's no clearing there. No open space to stand comfortably. No flat ground near the edge. Just dense woods pressing almost all the way to the water. And even stranger, the ground slopes sharply down near the shoreline. You'd have to balance carefully to stand upright without sliding. He had stood perfectly still. No shifting, no bracing, just upright. We walked the length of that bank. There were no footprints, no fishing gear left behind, no crushed grass, nothing to suggest someone had been there at all. Now, when we drift on still evenings, I catch myself scanning the far shore, just in case. Because sometimes, in that last light, before dark fully settles, I think I see a vertical shape where the trees, thin, tall, still, watching the water. And I can't help but wonder, was he watching the lake? Or was he waiting for something to come out of it? Or worse, was he watching us? Because from his side of the water, we were the strange ones drifting in silence. That one was kind of weird.
That was a good one.
I'm not going out on the lake ever again.
No. No lake trips for me.
See, we used to have a pontoon boat and we used to grill. We used to go out there with the dog and the kids. And, we used to do all that. So, yeah, they got in the water. I didn't. Because, I have seen what lives in that lake. I'm not getting in it. No. No, thank you. No, thank you. Have you seen what's in that lake? I have. I have. Those catfish can swallow you whole. Ask my husband. I swear. I swear they can swallow you whole. Okay. One more, guys. One more.
Okay.
I got one more. Okay. The anchor that wouldn't lift. It was late. Later than we should have stayed out. The lake had gone quiet in that way it does when Even the insects seemed to settle down. We dropped anchor near one of the deeper stretches, not far from where the old town used to sit before the flooding. Nothing unusual. We talked, we drifted, we let the water rock the boat gently. When it was time to leave, Vic went to pull the anchor. It didn't move. He tugged again. Nothing. We figured it had caught on something, a stump, maybe part of an old foundation down there. He braced himself and pulled harder. The rope went tight, then tighter. Then it pulled back. Not a snap, not a release, a pull, steady, downward. The boat shifted slightly, not dramatically, just enough. The rope trembled in his hands like something on the other end was testing it. We both froze. No current, no wind, no engine running, just tension in the line. Vic tried to loosen it slowly. The tension stayed, and then the rope went slack all at once. Like whatever had it let go. When we finally hauled the anchor up, it wasn't tangled in weeds. It wasn't wrapped around debris. It was clean. But along one edge of the metal were three long scratches, parallel, fresh. We don't anchor in that spot anymore. Some things under that lake don't like being disturbed. I'm not ever doing this. I told you. Oh, Gordon, what? I hadn't read these yet. Gordon, what's up with the lake? Okay, he's stuck on the lake. Yes, he's stuck on the lake. You want an encore?
Encore, encore.
Okay. The light under the dock. It started as a joke. One night, after everyone had gone inside, I looked out toward the dock and thought I saw a faint glow under the water. Just a flicker, like someone shining a flashlight from below. I told myself it was a reflection, maybe a neighbor's porch light bouncing off ripples. But the lake was still. The next night, it happened again. Same spot, right under the end of the dock. Soft, pulsing, not bright enough to light anything, just enough to be seen. We walked down to look. The boards creaked under our feet. The glow faded as we got closer. When we leaned over the edge, the water was black. Nothing there. We waited. Nothing. We laughed it off and went back inside. A few nights later, the glow returned. Stronger this time, and closer to the surface. I stood at the end of the dock and stared down. And that's when I realized something. It wasn't shining upward. It was moving slowly, side to side, like someone walking beneath the dock with a lantern, just out of sight. The light stopped directly below where I stood, and the water beneath me rippled once. Not from wind, not from fish, just a single slow circle spreading outward. The light went out. We've checked for underwater wiring. There isn't any. No submerged lights. No explanation. But some nights when the light goes quiet and the sky turns dark blue, I don't look down at the dock anymore because I'm not sure I want to see what's walking under it.